Last time we discussed the Harchokos that are relevant for eating together. So we discussed that there has to be a hecker. We discussed that a husband's not allowed to eat from the leftovers of his wife. There are certain exceptions on how to get around that. And we also spoke about eating from the same plate or eating from the same portion. So now let's move on to beds. So the first thing is you're not allowed to sleep in the same bed, even if it's a very big bed. It's a king-size bed. You go to a hotel and they give you a room and there's only one big king-size bed there. You're not allowed to sleep in that bed. Even though one person will sleep on one side and the other person will sleep on the other side, still that is us. You're never allowed to sleep in one bed. So you have to sleep on two mattresses. So the question is, how far apart do the mattresses have to be? So that's the shayla that the place can deal with, but this is what comes out. Me'ikar adin, all you need is a little bit of a gap between the two mattresses. That's me'ikar adin. But ideally, that's obviously not what you want to do. You want to have it that you're not able to touch the other person from one bed onto the other bed. So the gap should be, ideally, far enough apart that one person cannot reach out their hand and touch the other person. So in case in the middle of the night, one's rolling over and their hand's outstretched, they will not come into contact with the other person. But let's say in a situation where it's out of your control. You're being put up by somebody at a simcha, they show you your room, and it's a very small room, and there's two beds that are squished in there, and there's just a little bit of a hefsek between the two beds. Would that be mutter to sleep in those beds together? And the answer is yes, because since me'ikra adin, all you need is a little bit of a hefsek, a little bit of a gap between the two mattresses, that would be permitted to sleep in those two beds. Now, it is usher for a husband to sit on his wife's bed. That is true whether she is in the room or whether she is out of the room. He is not allowed to sit on her bed unless she's out of the city. If she's completely out of the city, then he is permitted to only sit on the bed, but not sleep on the bed. However, if she is out of town for a number of days, then he would even be permitted to sleep on her bed. Now, when it comes to her, the halacha is a lot more lenient. She is permitted to sit on his bed, even if he is in the room. She is allowed to sit on that bed, but she's not allowed to lie on his bed when he is in the room. So when he is in the room, she's not allowed to lie down, but she is allowed to sit there on his bed. When he's out of the room, then she is even permitted to sleep on his bed. Now, sometimes a shayla comes up where a wife will be sleeping next to the window, and that's where she normally sleeps. And for whatever reason, tonight she doesn't want to sleep next to the window. She wants to sleep further away. And they don't want to have to start moving all this furniture, the box board and the back piece and everything. They want to move everything. So what are they allowed to do? So in this situation, what you're allowed to do is just simply move the mattresses. And that would be good enough. As long as you move her mattress with her sheet to the other box board, then the husband can take his mattress and move it to where she was sleeping next to the window, and that would be permitted. Now, what about sometimes a couple goes to their parents or in-laws and they always have a special room that they sleep in? And not only that, but she always sleeps in one bed and he always sleeps in the other bed. Would they be able to switch? For whatever reason, this time they come in, they're in nida, and she doesn't want to sleep in the bed that she always sleeps in. She wants him to sleep in that bed, and she wants to sleep in his bed. Would that be permitted? And the answer is yes, because even though you generally sleep in those beds, but that's not your bed. That's just you're going to visit. That's not considered your bed, and therefore you'd be permitted to switch where each person is sleeping. Now, this is true even if, let's say, the first night you're there, she sleeps in the bed that she always sleeps in. And then the next night she says, I don't want to sleep in that bed anymore. I want to sleep in the other bed. They would be permitted to switch beds and would not have to switch the mattresses like they would if they were at home. Now, there's another shayla that comes up. What about a rocking chair? Sometimes a wife always has a special rocking chair that she sits in. The husband rarely, if ever, sits in that rocking chair. Now, during neither, he wants to sit in that rocking chair. Is he permitted to sit in that rocking chair? And the answer is yes, because that's not a bed. And even though it's miyuchid for her, he is allowed to sit in that rocking chair. But let's say she has a pillow that she always likes to use. She uses a special pillow. He is not allowed to use her pillow when she is in nida. Now, there's another shayla that comes up about making the beds in front of each other. So the general halacha is that you are not allowed to make the bed if the other person is in the room. So Doesn't matter who's making the bed. If the other person's in the room, you're not allowed to make the bed. Now, some say, the one head that I did see, is that for the quilt, in the quilt cover, that would be okay in front of each other because that doesn't really show Ava. That's just a big tircha, and that's not really showing any special feelings. Also, if let's say you're just making the bed not to go to sleep, you're just making it because you want the room to be nice, or it's in the morning, and you want to just have a nice clean room with a nice made bed, that would be permitted as well.